What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to today's live stream, man. I'm sorry it is a little bit earlier, but like I told you guys the last time, on the days that I gotta work, I gotta start a little bit earlier. Whatever that means for analytics, I don't care. I am here to glorify the Lord, guys. And having said that, while we are glorifying the Lord, let's go ahead and turn the tracking on and read from the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 10, which states, I delight greatly in the Lord. My soul rejoices in my God. For he has clothed me with garments of salvation and arrayed me in a robe of righteousness. As a bridegroom adorns his head like a priest, and as a bride adorns herself with jewels. Now, the thoughts on that today, guys, from Brother Phil Ware are as follows. This is God's promise to his people after the Messiah comes with healing and power to bless them in the Lord's favor. In many ways, this is our promise as Christians. We do rejoice greatly because God has delivered us from law, sin, death, and hell, through the coming of our Savior and Lord Jesus. Because of our faith in Jesus' sacrifice for us, we are clothed with Christ. And you can reference Galatians chapter 3, verses 26 and 27 for that. And given his garments of salvation and arrayed in a robe of righteousness, Colossians 1:22, which is all amazing, beautiful, and blessed. Here's a prayer. If you guys want to pray with me, go ahead and feel free to do so. You're always welcome. Thank you, dear Father, for making me righteous by Jesus' sacrifice. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for paying the price for my sins to give me life. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for cleansing me from my sins and empowering me to live for God. May I, dear God, live in such a way that those around me know that you have made me whole and holy. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Now, before we get into that, guys, I have a... Give me 1 second. Uh-oh. Refresh. I had something that I wanted to... If I can get this thing to work right. There we go. Oh, it might be the content of it. Okay. I keep looking for a response and it keeps disappearing. And don't. I had a guy yesterday who keeps tagging me in a Libiano video, and I don't know why. I think God is just literally just trying to show me patience because I really don't like this guy. But it continues to come up and he continues to come up. Now, and I want to show you guys this video, and I do have a debate brief on this, of course, because this is nothing new under the sun. Numbers. And other than that, how's everybody doing today? What is going on? Logan, what is going on? Brother Mike. So I got my debate brief ready for this, of course. All right, cool. Now I want to show you guys something because I was tagging this video yesterday. God TV, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to figure out a way where you can actually see these things. Or hear them as I share them, because I share them, but it seems like you never actually hear it, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if I can just do. Let's see the screen.
Don't you have a screen share inside?
I do.
Here?
I do, but I want to make sure that you can hear it. That's the problem.
Sleep with 32 little girls.
I can't see nor hear.
So Numbers 31 verse 17.
No.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna share this, and I want you guys to see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to look up more of why it is that my guests in the room can never actually see the screen. I don't see what the point is of me having it if I can't ever actually do it. Here, let me get rid of this then. Anyways. Here, let me play it, guys. This is supposedly Libiano coming up on a street preacher by the name of David Lynn, I want to say. And the Muslims are celebrating this as a win. And I'm going to teach you guys how to rebuttal this kind of nonsense. Libiano is a Muslim apologist who is a huge coward. He likes to attack, like, for example, he went after this guy in public because this is actually a street preacher. This is not a guy who actually debates people on a regular basis. He likes to street preach. Now, that's not to say that you should use that as an excuse to be ignorant of anything, right? And he wasn't, but there was a lot of deceptive editing in this video, and I already looked it up to see what it was that happened. And of course, as I suspected, they deceptively edited this to make it seem like the Muslim apologist defeated the Christian street preacher. So we're going to look into it, and I'm going to go ahead and once again destroy Libiano and his fat lying self. All right.
Pull it up, pull it up. Pull it up, I have it memorized. Numbers 31, verse 17 and 18, my good friend.
Commanded Moses to sleep with little girls.
That's right, read it.
So Numbers chapter what?
Again, for the 4th time, Mr. David Lynn, use your ear. Numbers 31, verse 17 and 18, sir. I'm not repeating myself again.
So God commanded Moses, now kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman that has not known a man
Interesting.
with lying with him. But all the women, children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourself.
Oh, what?
What did he say?
The women, children. So kill the little boys.
Okay.
Kill the women,
So where does
non-virgins.
that say God commanded Moses to sleep with the kids?
Are you serious right now, bro?
Well, are you fooling me or fooling yourself?
God commanded Moses, now kill every male. So God commanded Moses. So God commanded Moses.
You could fool a bunch of people that don't know what you're talking about, but you can't fool me. I came hunting for you today, as a matter of fact. So we see here that Moses tells the Israelites, after they butchered the Midianite people, who killed their women, who killed their little boys. So we just skipped over that like it's normal, by the way, but we'll get to that later. And take the little children, the woman children, and keep them alive for yourselves. And then God says, this is how you are to split the war booty amongst them. And if you read up until verse 40 and 41, it tells you exactly how many little girls go to the combatants and how many little girls go to the congregation of Israel. It was about 16,000 for the congregation and 16,000 little girls for the combatants.
What's that? What's that, brother?
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to destroy Libiano because he makes it easy. All right. Now, mind you, I want you guys to understand that Libiano is completely lying about what is going on. All right. And that's fine. If you are the kind of person that needs to do those things in order to be successful in what it is that you're doing, then sure, go ahead and do whatever you got to do. But for the rest of us, we're going to go ahead and we're going to share the truth. All right. So his claim is that God told Moses to take advantage, and you guys know what kind of advantage, of little girls, right? It says it told him to take advantage of 32 little girls in Numbers chapter 31, verse 17 and 18. Now, not only is that a serious accusation, guys, it is completely false. So I'm going to set the record straight because I'm tired of this fat, pompous Muslim lying about the Bible because he's too much of a coward to talk about the Quran. All right. Now, here's what the verse actually says. Now, therefore, kill every male among little ones and kill every woman that has known man by lying with him. But all the women, children that have not known a man by lying with him, keep alive for yourselves. Now, I want you guys, again, to listen to that and read it again carefully, because it does not say Moses was told to take advantage of anyone. The phrase is not in the text and it is being inserted dishonestly. So let's talk about the historical text. This was a military engagement against the Midianites, who we have talked about, Brett and I have talked about on this channel at length, who had previously led Israel into idolatry and sexual immorality. And you can reference that in Numbers 25, which of course, Fat Boy didn't talk about. All right. The judgment was severe, but it was not about sexual exploitation. It was about purging a moral and spiritual threat from within Israel. The girls mentioned were spared not for abuse, but likely to serve within Israelite households, as was common in ancient wartime scenarios. So whoever were the innocents that you captured from a wartime scenario, guess what they ended up doing? They ended up being servants, because it was a way of, it was essentially what we have as for penitentiaries now, right? You're not going to let them go ahead and just continue to exist on the way that they were, because all they're going to do is continue to muster up a rebellion. That's how things were back then. I don't care if you don't like it. That is how things were back then. Okay. Captives could only be married after a strict month-long process of mourning and voluntary conversion, and you can actually reference that in Deuteronomy 21, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. There is no indication in the text that Moses or anyone else took these girls as wives or violated them, nor did the original text actually say that. So now, let's contract that with what Fadiano doesn't talk about in the Quran. While the Bible does not endorse or describe abuse, certain early Islamic sources allow relations with female captives in ways that have sparked serious ethical debate. Surah chapter 4 verse 24, except those your right hand possess. Surah 23, 5 and 6, they guard their chastity except with their wives or those their right hands possess. These verses have been understood in many classical commentaries to mean that captives could be taken as concubines, even if they were previously married. Now that raises difficult moral questions, which critics often bring up when they're examining historical practice of slavery and war in Islamic history. So what is the bottom line behind the video that was given to me? There is no biblical command to exploit children, not a single one. That is a false claim that is misleading and built on twisting wartime narrative completely out of context. All right. There is no biblical command to exploit children. None, none, none. So Libiano is doing what he likes to do normally, which is he likes to make he likes to insert his own little meaning into things and then deceptively edit things to make it seem like he defeated a street preacher, which he didn't, because if you look at the entirety of the video, he did not. But he is a dishonest, fat, lying Muslim apologist who likes to talk loud and be sarcastic and think that because he's doing so, he's defeating you. He's basically the Muslim version of Christopher Hitchens. This is exactly why I am so ferocious towards these people, right? So if you're going to make emotional accusations, let's do what honest truth seekers do. Read the whole passage, check the historical background, the cultural context, like I always tell everyone to do, and compare laws and ethical systems fairly, not through distortion, especially when you're too much of a coward to contrast it to the Quran, which is not God's word, which you continuously go out of your way to avoid. And you can look at references such as Numbers 31, 17 and 18, Deuteronomy 21, 10 through 14, Deuteronomy 25, 25 through 27, and you can actually look on Quran X at Surah 424 and Surah 23, 5 and 6 to show who it is that are really the ones who are exploiting females and little children. So, Brother Brett, do you have anything to add to that?
No, you hit the nail on the head.
Yep. I honestly have little to no patience for people who want to sit there and try to talk about the Bible in a way that they want to act like they're doing something, and they want to. The thing about that, guys, I hate people when they act loud, when they act, like clowns who know better than everybody and they know more than everybody. And then because they know they didn't actually win on substance, what they'll do is they'll just go ahead and they will edit it. They'll edit their videos in a way and edit certain things in a way where it'll make it seem as though they made a point, right? Like they had this defeating claim and they actually didn't, which is hilarious to me.
That is exactly why I tell people they're allowed to use my content, providing they don't cut it, edit, or take it out of context.
Well, I promise you, if Libiano ever has a conversation with you, he's going to do that regardless of your warning, because that's exactly what he does.
There's things to do about that on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think people do, because most people he talks to a lot of Christians, and most people don't know any better. You know what I mean? The word Bible comes from root word Biblos, which means collection of books. It's not a coherent unified text. It is 100% a coherent unified text. And if you want to come on Medical Sciences and you want to debate that, crossunit.live/call. Crossunit.live/call. It is right there for you. And if you want to discuss it and you think that you can coherently make that point, please go ahead and try to do so. Brett, talk to us about what ended up happening yesterday. I know that you sent me a link to a video that you'd uploaded on your channel where an atheist was doing as a lot of atheists tend to do, and was being a scumbag, talking about little kids and the things that he would like to do to little kids. And we won't go into what exactly was said for obvious reasons. But excuse me. But my question to you is: did you look any further on your YouTube channel? Did you look at your emails? Did you see any strikes? And can you tell us what happened as a result of you uploading the truth about what pedophiles do? Because if it were you and me, the FBI would have been at our door. But the minute that you uploaded the truth about some P3DO atheists, they took it down right away, and they disabled your ability to go live on YouTube. So talk to us about that.
No, I already uploaded the video over to Rumble, and then I shared it with @FBI as well as a bunch of other things because although it's awful and terrible and all that, it's a crime.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
do you have an issue with me pointing out who the user is?
Not at all.
It's one of the most popular atheist YouTubers on the internet called The Amazing Atheist. He posted a video. I don't know if he thought it was funny or what. I could hear his brother Scotty in the background basically talking about he's interested in kids all the way from what was 11 years old to 14.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done this a couple times, and he's also done live chats with atheists where he's admitted, and I've got all the copies and screenshots and recordings
Mm-hmm.
of him stating that he had sex with underage people.
Wow.
So as some of his co-hosts. So for some reason, instead of YouTube doing something about it, I was hoping they would. They decided to remove the video. But when you look at my channel or in the dashboard or in the channel settings, it says that my channel's in good standing. But I can't go live.
No, the channel could
So
be in good standing, but they will disable your ability to go live for 7 days. So the thing is, if YouTube for whatever reason goes and decides that they need to remove a video, because it's happened to me, and with me it happened. Actually, it happened with a video that I had uploaded maybe a year and a half before. It was a like a review of Bryson Gray and a video. It was called Ultra Maga or something like that. And I basically was breaking down word by word like what the song was about. And he continued to say he continued to basically just say, it was about social issues, right? And about the things that liberals get away with. And they ended up taking that video down. And even though it was, I don't know how many months later, it was over a year. It was literally over a year later. And for some reason, even then, if they take something down, guys, and this is for anybody who's interested in creating content potentially ever, if YouTube ever takes a video down for you, and it's not by choice, right? If it's whatever is going on, you know what ends up happening? They no matter what the circumstances are, if it's something that they feel is in violation, what they do is they automatically take your stuff down. Like they take away your ability to stream for at least 7 days. And I know because it's happened to me like 2-3 times. And there was another video before that actually removed my ability to do that. So yeah, believe me, I know how you feel. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to deal with. But believe me when I tell you that, yeah, it's happened to me. And your channel will be in good standing without a doubt. But I guarantee you, if you go into YouTube Studio, I don't know how much you visit YouTube Studio. But if you go in there, there should be. Did they tell you that there's a strike?
No, there's no strike whatsoever. All it is that whenever I try to go live, it says that I'm not allowed to live stream, but it doesn't. It did originally say 24 hours, like it had disconnected or something. So I went to try to reconnect, and it still did not work.
Yeah.
So didn't work through StreamYards, didn't work through OBS, nothing. And it's not giving me a time frame. Now remember, I've been on YouTube for a long time, so I know where all their channel settings and dashboard in the studio is, but they don't have the interface anymore where it says, okay, you've got a red mark and a little pink slip that says yada, 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 and how long. Not for me. I mean, if you can find it on your page, let me know.
Yeah, I would probably do that with you offline just because I don't want anybody like looking at your personal stuff or mine or whatever. You know what I mean?
Keep in mind, though, my channel's a starter channel, and it's not got all the verifications and all. It doesn't have the third eligibility thing.
Oh yeah, but if you get a strike, it doesn't matter. You don't need all that. You just need what you need. Does that make sense? Yeah, that doesn't. Especially if you get a strike, they don't care how much you are. Medical Sciences says, personally, I don't think that the Bible is the word of God because it nearly fully consistent with the Tributarian view, nor the Jewish monotheistic concept of an individual God, except that the Jewish in the Torah had already alluded to the Godhead many times. So if you continue to lie, Medical, I'm just going to, the link is working, crossunit.live/call. crossunit.live/call. The problem is that you need to, if you can't tap it, go into your browser of choice and type it out. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. crossunit.live/call. I think that you can figure it out if you wanted to, because you're in here telling a lot of lies. You're saying the first thing you said is the Bible is corrupted literature according to your own biblical scholars. Please come through and tell me which biblical scholars of the highest element, because I had another Muslim who came in here, tried to say the same thing, and I ended up making a whole video out of him and destroying his lies. So if you think you have what it takes to go ahead and prove that medical sciences, you'd be the first one, because now mind you, I'm very intolerant of people who come in and say biblical scholars and this and that and don't have any evidence to back it up. If you don't have any evidence to back it up, I'm telling you, I'm going to bury you, and I'm going to bury you quickly. I don't care what you think medical science is. What I care about is the truth. How was Jesus able to be fully God and fully man? Reference to Mark 13:32. Come in, Benjamin, come in. crossunit.live/call, and we can have that conversation.
Oh, there is one more thing I want to point out.
Yeah.
And I think they did this because of the executive orders that Trump did towards corporate companies who run social media. They have to tell you how they went about doing it. They can't just remove things.
Mm-hmm.
So they did let me know that the original hit was automated. That means that they had an AI actually didn't like the title or something.
All the original hits are automated. All of them. Their original system is automated, and that's why they didn't implement that until a little bit before that video of mine got removed. They had just started using an automated system as of a couple of years ago. Because I remember when I got, as a matter of fact, here, I don't know, I might still have the email, but I do know for a fact that let me see your video.
Well, while you're looking that up, I did appeal. They got back to me. It didn't appear to be like a human, but they made it seem like it was supposed to be, but it really looked like a programmed response. It just simply said, we looked at your video, still ain't happy. Sorry, removed.
Yeah.
Have fun. So I think that they don't even have people working up there anymore.
Yeah. Let me see.
I hope you're right about the 7-day deal, because there's no notification or email or anything that says how long it's going to be like that.
Yeah, the first one with me was every time it's one, it's like 7 days. If they do 2 within the 90-day period, then they punish you for 14 days. And then if you get a third strike, they delete your whole channel. I have a message. Let me see. I'm trying to see what there was one before where they were talking about a video of mine saying being that they could not allow anyone to talk about the 2020 election. They definitely had that. They did not allow that by any stretch of the imagination, and that was just a random conversation I was having with somebody in chat. We weren't even doing like a super Christian stream back then. We were just playing video games, and we were talking about it. And mind you, that conversation had taken place, and this is why I'm telling you, that conversation had taken place about all the questions behind the 2020 election. And could you believe that stream went up? It was like an entire year before, and it wasn't even until July of the following year of like 2021 where they took it down. And they literally said in the email that they sent me that any insinuation about the 2020 election being fraudulent is not allowed on YouTube whatsoever. And they told me, they said, you're not allowed to discuss the 2020 election, and you're not allowed to discuss fraudulent elections in Brazil either. Don't ask me why, but they gave me they were very honest about why that video was taken down. Now, mind you, it was a live stream. It wasn't even an uploaded video, and it was from like a year before. And they ended up taking it down, dude. And it had to have been that their AI responded. Let me see. I don't know if it'll pop up. I'd be very surprised if it would. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, I have it right here, guys. I have it right here. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our misinformation policy. We removed the following content from YouTube, and it just said live, God bless, right? It says, we know that this might be disappointing, but it's important to us that YouTube is a safe place for all. If content breaks our rules, we remove it. If you think we've made a mistake, you can appeal it. We'll take another look. Keep reading keep reading for more details. How your content violated the policy. Content that advances false claims that widespread fraud, errors, or glitches changed the outcome of the US 2020 presidential election is not allowed on YouTube. That was exactly what they said. That's how they said the content violated the policy. To say nothing of the fact that the left said for years that Donald Trump was fake. You still have millions of those videos on YouTube. But when 2020 came around, it was not allowed on YouTube whatsoever. And then they said this is how it affects your channel. Your channel has now has one strike. You won't be able to do things like upload, post, or live stream for 1 week. A second strike will prevent you from publishing content for 2 weeks. 3 strikes in the same 90-day period will result in your channel being permanently removed from YouTube. 95% of creators who get 1 strike never get another one. We want that for you too. So please make sure you understand YouTube's community guidelines and strikes. So basically, yeah, you're welcome to upload to our platform no matter what. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. You can upload as much as you want. Just don't talk about things that we don't want you talking about. You know?
Yeah. Well, I have no way of being able to see. I guess I'll just have to wait a week. And
did you check your email? Did you check your email that's under that YouTube channel?
Yeah, I told you what the emails were. They said the first one was automated, and the second one said we looked at the appeal. We didn't like it. Screw you. Bye.
No, but what did they give you for a reason?
They felt like it was endangerment of children.
I see. So it's endangerment of children because you're telling the truth about who endangers children?
Exactly.
That's interesting. That is very interesting. Now, mind you, I wonder how much, and I'm honestly asking, I wonder how much medical sciences. I told you to call into the show, bro. crossunit.live/call. crossunit.live/call. It's right there on the screen. I know you see it. Type it in and come in with your nonsense, dude. I don't understand why it is I have to continue. I have to continue to ask you to do what everyone else has done.
It does shock me in 2025 that there's still people who couldn't figure out how to kick a rock into a box.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Medical Sciences says, according to 12 biblical scholars of the highest element like Bart the Ehrman, Bruce M. James, D.G. Dunn, there are many verses in the Bible which are full of fabrication, interpolation, and I'm assuming he meant contradiction. Even the word begotten son throughout from New Revised Standard Version of the Bible. Excellent. Let's go ahead and show you guys how to destroy a liar real quick. Fabricated verses, yeah, not so much, my brother. Scholars don't speak with one voice. You can find so you say you found 12 scholars to say almost anything in a post-enlightenment academic world where skepticism is treated as virtue. For every Bart Ehrman claiming textual corruption, you'll find conservative heavyweights like Daniel B. Wallace from the Dallas Theological Seminary, Craig Bloomberg from the Denver Seminary, or Richard Buckham from St. Andrews defending the overwhelming reliability and preservation of Scripture. Fabrication misrepresents the issue. The term fabrication implies intentional deception. But no serious textual critic, even the skeptical ones, claim that there is any other things that you are claiming that are in there, which is why you're a coward and won't call into the show. What they actually refer to are textual variants, which are the overwhelming majority of which are spelling differences or minor word order changes. Out of 400,000 variants, 99% make no difference to doctrine or meaning. Metzger and Ehrman, The Text of the New Testament, 4th edition, page 252. And this is Metzger and Ehrman, which are people that you are alluding to. Now, early manuscript support is actually overwhelming because over 5,800 Greek manuscripts, 10,000 in Latin, and 9,300 others give us a manuscript based unrivaled in ancient literature. The John Rylands Papyrus, the P52, dates to within 100 years of the original Gospel of John and agrees with the text we have today. In contrast, the next best ancient work, like Homer's Iliad, has a centuries-long gap and only a handful of manuscripts. Even the problem texts don't change the Christian doctrine. So yeah, some passages like John 7:53 and 8:11, the adulterous woman, or Mark 6:16-9-20, are bracketed in modern Bibles. Why? Because of transparency. Christians have nothing to hide, and it doesn't change the message whether they're in there or not. And modern translations mark these with footnotes because of our textual tradition that is strong. And crucially, there's no core doctrine Trinity, no core doctrine, Trinity, resurrection, deity of Christ is impacted by these disputed passages. So who are the 12 scholars that you're claiming? Because if they include names like John Dominic Crossan, Marcus Borg, or Robert Funk, you're quoting from the Jesus Seminar crowd, radicals who literally voted with colored beads to decide if Jesus said something. That's not scholarship. That's a seance with Greek. All right. So you're a complete liar. So yeah, at the end of the day, you guys, like I said, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is why I don't respect people who just want to type in the comment section, because he's texting these things out and praying to God that, you know, I'm not going to say anything in return, and knows that he's not going to be able to come in here and actually win this debate. So he wants to say it in the text, hoping that people are just going to read it and believe him. Yeah, medical sciences, I've already destroyed that too. You can try to lie about the Bible authors. You can try to say it's corrupted. You can try to say whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you don't have the bolas to come in here and actually say, hey, you know what? crossunit.live/call in my web browser of choice. Cross, you want me to spell it out for you? CROSSUNIT.LIVE/CALL. crossunit.live/call. Stop pretending like you don't know how to do it because you're on my stream, right? All it takes is for you to tap on a web browser and go ahead and type out. It's not even that hard to memorize. It's exactly why I made the effort to make sure that I could rebrand the original link into something simple so that anyone can figure it out, even the liar of a Bible. All right. So you guys can come in here in my comment section and try to lie all you want, but that's what 99% of you do. You try to come into the comment section and lie and ask your last couple of atheist and Muslim friends how that worked out for you. Brother Mike, I appreciate you constantly putting it in the chat, but these guys, they're not going to do it, man. They're not going to do it because they're afraid. And they know why they're afraid, because they're going to get smacked down. He's probably a Muslim in disguise. Yeah, absolutely, Jonah. He's not going to come in here and try to... He's not going to come in here because he's probably read the debate rules, right? And he's afraid of coming in here and doing what he knows. He knows what's going to happen to him, right? He's going to get memed up. He's going to get memed up with reality. This man said of the highest caliber. Of what highest caliber? You said over 12 of them. When I have a list of dozens and dozens of people who have talked about, even Bart Ehrman himself. And I don't understand why it is that any skeptic tries to name Bart Ehrman, because Bart Ehrman has actually been found on video quoting that over 99.5% of the original manuscripts, there is nothing contradictory in them. And he admits himself, being a skeptic of the resurrection and of the message of Jesus Christ, that there is no corruption in the original manuscripts, and that the errors that do have are from scribal errors, such as spelling errors or grammar or syntax, things like that, and things that don't even remotely change the message, because all you have to do is look at all the other thousands of manuscripts where the scribes put it down right, and you see where the error occurred, right? This is exactly why you're not calling in. Now, if you do call in, I'll at least give you a little bit of props, but right now I'm not giving you anything because you're a liar. You're just trying to come into my comment section and troll. Because you're upset that nobody's allowing the Fatianos and the Dean Responds of the world to take control anymore, right? You can be as loud as you want, but at the end of the day, being a Muslim version of Christopher Hitchens is not going to save the Quran from the farce that it is. The Quran's not the word of God. So sorry to hurt your feelings. Oh man, is there anything else, Brother Bread? We talked about a lot last night. Yeah, what ended up happening? I know Sister Beth was having issues because they had a storm. Brother Phil had to go. We never got Dr. Hovine in. That was sad. But I kind of had a feeling as more time passed that he wasn't going to end up coming in. And he doesn't. You said that he has a tech guy apparently that sets things up for him.
Yeah, but it's not really a professional. He calls him a tech guy, but he's just some guy that knows at least how to hit a button on a computer to turn it on. They like to give him. I really adore Ken Tobin and stuff, but he gives special names to people who really didn't, kind of earn the label.
Well, you got to remember he's an old timer, and anybody who knows even remotely more about technology than him, he's gonna call a tech guy. You know what I mean? If you're his tech guy, he's gonna call you that, whether you've actually earned it or not, because he's not a tech guy. So for him, it's like whatever. You know what I mean?
He tried to get me to do that a while back, as well as brother Matt Powell. I don't know if you're familiar with Matt Powell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, tried to get us to be the tech guys on it, and I was like, I ain't going to hold down to Alabama to be a tech guy. Come on, man.
Yeah. Happens, man. It looks like we ain't got no callers in today, man. I don't really have anything to talk about other than just waiting for Muslims to come in and make fools out of themselves. And not just in the comment section either. If he can't figure out how to call in, he definitely can't bring anything worthwhile to the conversation. Absolutely, amen, Jonah. That to me is the funniest part, is when people come in and they start talking yin yang, but they say things like the link isn't working. You know, the link is working just fine. You know, don't lie. Stop lying. For once in your life, stop lying. You know what I mean? Brett, can you can see me in video, Ninja, right? Like you see the camera?
I see you, even though you've got like a ghostly effect going on, and then I see my little screen up in the top right.
Okay, cool. You guys like it better when you can see the director, or just yourself?
Yeah, this works for me. I have no idea what it'll look like if other people showed up, because apparently the people in comments either don't know how to click on links, making them absolutely stupid, or they're cowards.
I think it's the last choice. I think it's the last choice. People talk a lot, but they don't have the intestinal fortitude to come in. You know how that goes, man. You know what I mean? Hey, man, do you like Israel? Zelda needs link. Crossunit.live/call. Crossunit.live/call. I don't even see anyone named Zelda. Yeah, I mean, Brother Mike keeps putting it in there, and it's not, you know, it's not difficult. Guys, I created an entire graphic in Canva. Made sure I exported it with transparency, just so people can have it. I don't understand why this is difficult, right? And the reason I did that is because, not for any other reason than YouTube Shorts Live flattens all links, right? So it's not just the call-in link that gets flattened, right? It no longer becomes a hyperlink when you're live. It's only a hyperlink before and after you're live. Like the minute I end the YouTube Shorts live stream, it's going to go away. Yeah, it's going to become active again, I mean, which does me absolutely no good, because once I'm offline, you can join the room all you want. I'm not there, right? We're not live. So that does us literally no good. It might do me a little bit of good before, if you're going to click on it and wait, and then I go live. But so I put it there so you guys can type it in the browser of choice, right? crossunit.live/call. I mean, I couldn't have made it any easier than that. crossunit.live/call. It's right there. You all you got to do is get out of the stream and type it into the URL bar of your browser of choice. It could be Safari, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Brave, Chromium, whatever you want to use. It's going to work the same way, and it's all going to take you to the same link. I even paid for the domain to make sure that that horrible link that it was before for Video Ninja got rebranded into a link, and then that's what I use now. So essentially, you're typing that in, and it is still the original link, but there's people out there that if you pay like $2 for a domain, it'll turn it into whatever link you want, you know.
If you don't mind me asking, how come on your channels you don't have, like, I don't know if you ever went into the customization part, but how come you didn't add the section or part where it says live now?
I do. We talked about that the other day. It is there. I showed it to you.
Yeah, it seems to work on your side. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I've even gone. I can even go into here. Let me go into a different. Yeah, so if I go home, I'm in a different profile now. Like I will share the I'll share the screen. Hold on.
Your thumbnail, like up at the top of your banner, it'll say live, but I don't see like the videos on there. If it wasn't for your notifications, I wouldn't even
Okay, so do you see my screen share right now?
No.
You don't see it in Video Ninja?
Let me look at your broadcast.
Here, let me bring it up because I don't have it. All right, so it's right there. So let me know when you see it. It's right there. And this is actually not even my profile. This is a test profile. So as soon as you go to like the home section, It says right now 2 live streams, and then it says live now. So it has not only the 2 live streams, but it says live now, and then it goes to the For You section, then the playlist, which is How the Bible Applies, Salvation Over Sin clips and bits, my YouTube shorts, my popular videos, my old podcast that my cousin and I used to do, Preaching, Playing, and Praying, which is YouTube Live, tutorials, reviews, and blogs. So all of these are, and stream recaps. So all of these, every single one of these are, but at the very top is just like that. So it's there.
And you did a screen share?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think I'd be able to show you what it looks like on my end using OBS.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me get this set up real quick.
Oh, excuse me. Is anybody gonna call in, man? Is anybody gonna call in and try to take this challenge? I named my pig Muhammad and my other pig Allah. Is that an issue for anyone? I can change their names if that's bad. I don't know, man. To me, I mean, those names mean nothing to me, so I'm good with that. I couldn't care less, honestly. I am not afraid to prove. Then you're not afraid to prove, but you're just talking a whole lot of nonsense. You said neither link is active. I don't know what's the problem. I am able to copy. You don't have to copy it. Okay. You think that you have the ability to disprove biblical sources. You think that you have evidence. You don't. Here, let me show you how easy this is. Okay. You might be able to, you might have to do this on your phone. Okay. If you do, great. Go into a URL and type crossunit.live/call. Look at how easy. We'll name this test. You join the room with a camera or not. You can do it. That's okay. If you can't find it, right? Pick a camera that works or whatever. OBS virtual camera, sure. All my cameras are active. So here, well, NDI. Okay. So NDI webcam video 1 will start. There I am. Now you're the one who wants the world to believe that you can disprove the Bible, right? That you have all these sources and you have all this evidence. But at the end of the day, you don't even know how to use a link. You can copy it. Stop lying. You're lying about the Bible already, so it doesn't surprise me that you would lie. But stop lying. Seriously, it's sad that you lie the way you do. Okay, stop lying. I'm not able to prove myself. I'm not afraid to prove myself wrong. If you can't copy and chat into description, click more, scroll down to call them now, copy and paste. Bro, you can just type it, guys. There's a reason why Brother Brett is gone. I don't know what's I don't know where he's at. I'm waiting for him to come back. His screen is just black. I think he's trying to share the screen. That's why. Yeah, but I don't see it. It's just black.
All right, I'm gonna show you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, here we go. This is odd. All right, let's see if I can get this up.
Yeah, medical sciences. If you can't even figure out how to type in, look at that. I mean, it's right there at the bottom of the screen, dude. crossunit.live/call. You cannot manually type that in to your browser of choice. People do this every day. I've had people who are in their teens who have figured this out. Brother Mike has pasted it in the chat many times. Okay, I see it. So what you got to do right there, it says it right there. So it says live now.
Yeah, but it doesn't show the thumbnails.
Which web browser are you using?
The Edge.
Okay,
Explorer.
that's why. You need to use a better web browser because Edge sucks. You got to use like Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. Using Edge is the reason why people have a lot of limitations. You definitely want to probably use something that's better than that. That's the issue that you're having, because I've never had that I've never had that issue. But I don't use Edge either.
I can try to do that, but the thing is, what's odd is obviously I get around the internet and I've seen other people's videos up there. The only difference between them and you is you look like you're actually like some kind of partner where you have a join feature and all that and other tabs.
Right.
Is where they're still like on starter pages.
Right. Let me see.
That's odd.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It looks like a very specific. So I'm typing. So I went in Edge and I'm not even okay. Yeah. So If you look here, I'm gonna bring it up for you guys. Here we go. So cross unit. So now I'm actually on Microsoft Edge. I have it up on the live. I brought it up as a live screen so you can see my desktop. And I typed in just my name. As you guys can see, look in the upper right hand corner where my cursor is. I'm not signed in because I don't use Microsoft Edge. And when I clicked my channel, it says live. It shows here my 2 live streams, and then it says live now here, and it shows the thumbnails. So yeah, it's definitely not. That's got to be a specific issue on your end, Brother Brett. Yeah, because I used Edge, and I'm not even signed into Edge. I never use Edge. So that's very strange. Yeah, medical science, I don't know. Just a heads up, the link is a little cut off in the shorts feed. If you shrink the text just a tiny bit, it would be perfect. Okay. I mean, I'm looking at it on my phone and I don't see that. Let me see. Yeah, it looks perfect, but maybe for some phones. Let me see. No, it's over here. All right, I shrunk it a lot. I don't want to shrink it any more than that because then people are just going to start not to see it. So let me know if that's any better, BPD, Bob. But yeah, I shrunk it some. So I did shrink it. Even if you have a much smaller phone or your screen is cut off or your edges are rounded or whatever reason. But there it is, crossunit.live/call. I really don't think that this guy has any intention of actually calling. Usually when people end up saying the things that they, the kind of stuff that they say, it's because they just want to say it in the comment section and they're hoping that they're going to get a rise out of the host, but you're not. crossunit.live/call. It's right there. If you want to call in, call in. I'm already about to be on an hour in. We're 47 minutes in and we haven't got a single caller.
All right, you're gonna. Hopefully, you don't get annoyed with me, but I figured out what the problem was, and it wasn't your end. I forgot about something. I have what is called a YT blocker, where I'm able to put in titles and certain things or topics that I don't want to see on my YouTube page. Yeah, where it makes it invisible. And one of the words was Muslim, and some other stuff. Now, the reason why I did that was because when I go looking for live shows, they've got tons of videos, but I don't have a problem. But when I go to hear them or go to talk to them, a lot of them don't speak English. Right. So I don't want to be bombarded with all these videos where I don't even know their language to try to find English speaking people. Yeah. So yeah, you got it in your title. That's why. I see. Yeah. Well, then I guess that's what it is then. That would have had to have been it. Because I was going to say, no, you're fine. It is. It's better to find out. And then, these kinds of things are like if anybody else in the stream or anyone else in the chat is, having those kinds of issues, they know to look for that stuff because everybody's computer is different. No two people are using the same pieces of software. And that's why I try to tell people, I do repair computers. I build computers and I do software repair and stuff like that. But I tell people, how the way that you use your computer is going to be completely different than the way other people use their computer. There's times where I'm watching videos or tutorials or stuff that I see icons on people's taskbar. I have no idea what a lot of those icons are. I have no idea what software that is. Literally everyone's computer experience is either almost invariably different or completely different, right? So I would have had no way to guess. I didn't even know that there was a tool where you could block those kinds of words. On Brother Brett's side, the sides are cut off a little bit. Part of the G in God and the O in radio. Really? Oh no, that's not from you though. That's from the frame that I have on the on this room. Yeah, but I gotta fix that frame. That I'm not. Yeah, I know, but that's because it's under another image that it's a ping that has transparency. So depending on what your camera looks like. God TV has a 16:9 and then other people join with 9:16. So no matter what kind of overlay I use, I'm going to be screwed because people join. Some people don't use cameras. Some people are using a portrait mode. Some people are using landscape mode. So there's no way for me to get a perfect however things are going to happen. Hey man, just watched a bit from you. Was just wondering how Joy to Hotkey works. I put everything you have put
and it's not giving me aim assist. Bro, my man is talking about a video, and I appreciate you watching my video, man. But let me explain something to you right quick, and I'm not in any way trying to be funny. Let me look at my content, and we're gonna go back through dates. The Joy to Key video was February 1st, 2012. And you know what? It's crazy, man, that people are still watching this video. I'm blessed. You know what? I gotta skip that because I'm probably gonna copyright it.
Those for any dog.
So here's the thing, guys. Look, this this video got, so I at the time, guys, I'm gonna show you guys this video because we don't have anybody calling in right now anyway. So this video was from my very, very first gaming PC. It was a Brett, you remember Gateway PCs? Yeah, it was a Gateway PC that had a first generation Core i7, Intel Core i7. It was a quad core 8-threaded CPU with 8 gigs of system memory, a 1 terabyte system drive, mechanical drive. This was before SSDs were even a thing. And an AMD Radeon HD 5750, not even a name brand, a reference card. And man, I was gaming my butt off on that thing. So I made this video, guys. I'm not gonna make you go through the whole thing, but I just want you guys to listen to like sound quality. This is when you made videos, nobody knew about video editing. You just started recording. You did your best not to like misspeak or whatever, because it was all one shot, one recording. You uploaded it just like that. You know, I had no idea that the video editing was even a thing or any of that stuff. This was literally just a desktop recording. The microphone was from my webcam. It was, it wasn't even, the C920 wasn't even out yet. It was like, God, I don't even remember what webcam it was, but it was older. It was like a 720p webcam. As a matter of fact, look at, if you guys see this cursor right here, this video was from so long ago. This picture is of my wife and my daughter. And this picture wasn't that old at this point. This picture was only about a year old at this point. And this kid who's in this picture just graduated from grammar school yesterday. This is how long ago this video came out. I don't even remember what I said in this video.
There it is, Modern Warfare 3, right? This is not the only game that needed controller support. Modern Warfare 3 did, as well as the first Modern Warfare, which is Call of Duty 4.
I'm not even gonna play it because I got some music that I am sure is copyrighted. But this was right here. It was called Joy to Key. The reason I made this video was because back then controller support was extremely finicky, and you were lucky if you even had it. If you plugged in like an Xbox 360 controller, that's why you guys see it on here. There's like little software down here, Xbox 360 Joy to Key. You actually had to download software that would map your keyboard and your mouse to your controller. And I did one because I was so frustrated because Modern Warfare, Call of Duty did not have controller support natively on the PC ports. And I did this, but at the end of the day, brother, I don't know why you're not getting aim assist, because here's the problem. I'm not even sure why you're still using Joy to Key, because PC games all have had native controller support for at least the last 12-15 years. So to reiterate on the comment, it says, hey man, just watched a vid from you, just wondering how Joy to Key works. I put everything you have put and it's not giving me aim assist, trying to emulate my controller to make the game think I'm playing a controller when I'm on mouse and keyboard. Okay, see, so this video was for guys who were just trying to play on controller who didn't know how to play on mouse and keyboard. If you're playing mouse and keyboard, I'm not sure why you would want to emulate the controller, but that's completely opposite of what this video was about, brother. So I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry. And you're not, I'll be honest with you, you're not going to find a lot of videos like this anymore, because controller support has been a thing that's been in existence for a very long time. There was a time where I was mapping Joy to Key regularly for games on PC, but then I just bit the bullet and I taught myself how to game keyboard and mouse, and it was the best thing I ever did. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Houdini. That video is extremely old, as you can tell between just the sound quality alone. I remember when I made that video, my wife had went to work and I was up early and I was like, oh, let me make this video. And it was cool, man. I never thought this video would get, you know, it got 43,000 views 13 years ago on a channel that at the time had like 10 subscribers. So, you know, skip to 317.
Movement is the
yeah. So this is but that's what it was, man. It was a very, like I said, very different time. I even put that's when I thought I was doing stuff, man. But you know, what was crazy was that there was not any other, there were no other videos like that. So I guess that's why I kind of got a lot of hits. This is very much off the topic. Yes, it is equal. That was because somebody came in the chat and asked me about a video that I had done like in 2012, so 13 years ago already. So I'm not gonna ignore them either, whether it's on topic or not. I understand, but it is what it is. Do you make XRP videos? I don't even know what XRP stands for, so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no. Could tell by the quality. I saw you were live, just thought of that. Yeah, no, for sure, Houdini. I appreciate that, and I'm really sorry, brother, but I have not messed with Joy to Key for over a decade. Yeah, and it's because games have done a great job at introducing controller support for games on PC, regardless of anything. Hello, Ryan Robinson, welcome. So guys, there is a reason why Muslim apologists love to attack the Bible. They love to lie about the Bible. Why? Because they, of course, Houdini, anytime, my brother. If you have any other questions, please feel free to let me know. Thank you, Houdini. I appreciate you, man. God bless you.
I think I was able to fix the logo on my end so it doesn't get cut off.
Oh, nice. Yeah, there you go, brother. Yeah, that actually looks a lot better, even on OBS Studio. Yeah, the frame was kind of cutting it off. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it looks better. A lot better. Yeah, guys, the reason people like Libiano and other people, they want to talk about the Bible and they want to lie about it and take it out of context. Notice that the guy Scientific or whatever his name was never called in. He wants to pretend like he doesn't know how to. I even got on a web browser and showed him how to. Is because they don't want to talk about the Quran. They know that the Quran is not the word of God. Whether they know it consciously or subconsciously, they know. They don't want to talk about the Quran. They want to try to keep you on your heels about the Bible. And you guys see how I do it, man. The debate rules are simple. And I'll be honest with you, I've been on for an hour. I'm tempted to get off because it's like, if nobody's going to call, what's the point? You know what I mean? But yeah, we have no callers in, man. I know it's a Tuesday too, and it's early. And that's the one thing I hate about streaming on the days that I work. But if I'm going to do Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it has to be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whether I work that day or not. And I'm going to have to bite the bullet. I mean, it's not like we don't have analytics, but it's just, you know, the later you go live, guys, the better it is because people are done with school. They're done with work. Maybe it'll go up a little bit because summer break is up. We're already in June, which means in the next couple weeks, most schools will be done. So, you know, maybe we'll get, you know, a little bit more traction. And when we do go live earlier, I know that when I know you guys do like when I go live when I'm on the way to work. That's pretty cool. We do have a good amount of views, so it's not like it's dead by any stretch of the imagination. We just don't have any calls. But again, crossunit.live/call, crossunit.live/call. And you know what I wanted to do, Brett? I wanted to play that video from Rumble, where you exposed that one atheist so bad, but they'll just take the stream down. Like they would take it down instantly. You know what I mean? And then I wouldn't be able to stream for the next 7 days, and that'll be hell on my analytics.
Yeah, I understand. I just hate the fact that people like that, sick people, can get on the internet and confess to their crimes and then nothing gets done about it. It makes me sad.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate, man, because YouTube, Google, so many of these entities out there, they work for the devil, man, whether they do it, whether they know it or not. I would honestly argue that they do know it and they like it that way, but you know, there's nothing that we can do because Jesus said that the prince of the air is Lucifer. You know what I'm saying? He's God on this earth, and because people want him, and it's not like he's saying it because he relinquished power to him. He's saying it because he knows that's what the majority of the people want. They want Luciferian values. They don't want godly values. You know what I mean? There was a lady on TikTok yesterday who was talking about how she went into Target. So you remember when there was that whole fiasco? I think it was last year, the year before, where people were infuriated because they went into Target and like the very first display they had so that all kids could see was like all that LGBTQ stuff and like those bikinis where you could like tuck your you know what behind where you could look like a girl and all that stuff. And yeah, Target got like obliterated by boycotts to the point where they moved it to so far back that nobody could see it. And then this year, apparently, most Targets, if not any of them, are selling that stuff anymore. And this lady goes into the Target and goes in this whole tirade about, oh, You know, why are we looking at all this patriotic stuff? Why should I be patriotic if we're living in a country where Target won't even sell LGBTQ stuff? And it's like, there are two things that instantly infuriate me when I hear. Number one is when someone compares being black or brown or any other minority to being LGBTQ. Okay, I was born Hispanic. You're not born gay. I don't give a damn who tells you what. You're not born gay. It's the world that tells you that what you want to do is okay, right? It's the world that tells you that the sin that you struggle with is not a sin, and therefore you go and do it. That's not because it's not. It's because that's what they tell you. But stop equating what you do and what you choose to do in the privacy of a bedroom or outside in public for little kids to see, for that matter, to my skin color. Stop comparing my culture and my background and my ethnicity to sexual activity. It's the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. What I hate even more than that is when they compare LGBTQ crap to veteran stuff. Oh, why should we celebrate veterans? Why should veterans get a whole month? Why do they need a whole month? They're not persecuted. They're not persecuted. How many veterans have lost their lives horribly so that you can go march around in an LGBTQ parade waving your you-know-whats in little kids' faces? Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous when they make those comparisons to me. It infuriates me instantly. Dupe Whoopie says, why should I believe a book that says the earth was created before the sun? Call into the show and we can talk about that. Imagine thinking a morally perfect God would say you can own slaves and beat them with a rod. Again, call in so that you can see how stupid you sound, because you obviously don't know what you were talking about, right? And you're not born gay, because there are countless studies showing that if you were born gay, then that would mean that it's genetic. And tell me why, if it's genetic, why countless studies have studied people who were born twins, who were twins and triplets, and one of the twins was gay and one of them was not. If you are born gay, that would mean it's genetic. And if you have genetics that say you're gay, then why is it that so many times they looked at these twins and said it's impossible for one to be gay and one to be and the other to not be gay if it's genetic? So you're not born gay. So you already don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about as far as homosexuality, genetics, and especially not the Bible. crossunit.live/call. Call in so you can get spanked. Doopy Whoopie, I'm not going to answer your questions in the chat. crossunit.live/call. You want to talk about biblical slavery? We can talk about biblical slavery. We can talk about what it's talking about. And then after you get humiliated, you can walk away with your tail between your legs like every other liar. I'm not even going to remotely do this with you in the comment section. This is exactly what's going on. Every single stream, Brother Brett, I feel like more and more we get less and less brave souls to call in. And this is why these other guys, you know what they do? They go live on TikTok and they take calls, because it seems like since all of the trolls are on TikTok, that's where you have more of a chance for people to call in. That's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to go live on TikTok and use the HDMI to USB-C so to capture my phone and have them call in there and have you guys listen to that, because on YouTube people apparently don't have the intestinal fortitude to test out their lies in real time. So please call in and try your lies about biblical slavery. Try your lies about LGBTQ. You're gonna get stomped just like everybody else is coming here. I even asked Brother Brett yesterday, how many people have come in here and tried their lies with me and at the end of the day have had actual evidence or won an argument? The answer was 0. I am a woman and I dated a woman not because I'm gay, but because I felt like I'm escaping from men. I have been, assaulted more times than I can even remember. That's very terrible, Sister Stacy. But I will tell you this: if you want prayer, I'll pray for you, because no matter what, it sounds like you just obviously, it doesn't sound like it, you obviously are meeting the wrong men, and then it makes me wonder where you're meeting these men, right? This is why it's very difficult to date a man who is not grounded in the ideology of Jesus Christ, because these guys, a person who really walks with Christ, a person who is consumed by the Holy Spirit, would never even think about harming a woman in that way and taking advantage of them. And anyone who does that, in my opinion, deserves capital punishment right off the bat. That is horrible to hear. So I thank you, Sister Ruby Nacer. I appreciate that.
I remember I had a friend a while back where they said, Brad, how is it that you've been able to stay married as long as you are? Every time I get into a relationship, I always get people who want to drink all the time. I said, well, where do you meet them? It's bar. Oh, okay.
yeah. And that's kind of what I was alluding to, but I was trying not to be rude.
It is what it is. Oh, as far as biblical slavery, I know you've been real busy this week, so I don't expect you've probably seen it, but I actually had an AI debate on biblical slavery. It's really interesting. I learned some things that I didn't even know from the AI itself.
Mm-hmm. You want to go on, or?
Well, I was curious if when you get time, if you want to check out the video, if you have.
Oh yeah.
If you like.
Oh, I did see it. No, I did see it. Yeah, I did see it. I just haven't got a chance to look at it because I usually do that like if there's downtime at work, like when I'm just looking at, I'm studying or whatever. I was gonna check it out, but I haven't been at work the last 4 days. Yeah, and Doopy wants to talk about. He's saying that you can beat your slave with a rod, which is referring to Exodus 21 verses 20 and 21, which is always misinterpreted by lying little trolls in the comment sections. Exodus 21, 20 and 21. If a man beats his male or female servant with a rod so that the slave loses their life as a result, he must be punished. Now again, it says clearly, if you beat them to the point where they lose their life, you will be punished. He must be punished. But if the servant gets up after a day or two, he is not to be punished, for the servant is his property. Now, you will say that God says you can beat your slave, but this is a regulation of an evil practice. It was not an endorsement of it. Slavery was a universal economic system in the ancient world, okay? God's law actually restrained and limited it, holding slave owners accountable, unlike pagan nations where slaves were literally disposable. So let's get into a little bit of context behind that. The law restricts and it does not approve. Exodus 21:20 establishes that if a slave dies from a beating, the master is to be punished. A radical idea in a world where slaves had no legal rights. The Hebrew word for punished here is nakam, N-A-Q-A-M, meaning vengeance, retribution, which could include death for the master. So you take a slave's life, you would actually have your life taken. But of course you didn't know that because you're a liar. The Hebrew word for punished, again, is nakam, right? Property doesn't mean ownership like furniture. So the Hebrew phrase for his money means economic investment, not that the person was subhuman. It parallels employer-employee dynamics in some cases, especially among Hebrew servants. Exodus 21 through 26, who were freed after 6 years, which of course you glossed over that because again, you're a dishonest, disingenuous liar. And beating was not encouraged. The verse does not say you may beat your slave. It says if it happens and if the person recovers, the punishment is different, which means there still was a punishment if you did it anyway. It's just, it was addressing the fact that if they lost their life, you were also going to be punished. So the case law was basically not prescribed behavior. It was dealing with a legal what-if scenario. Now, the historical backing behind that comes from a gentleman by the name of Dr. Paul Copan, PhD in philosophy. These laws were light years ahead of their time. Israel's treatment of servants was humane and restorative. And that's from the book, Is God a Moral Monster? Let's do an ancient Near Eastern comparison to that, guys. In Hammurabi's code, a master could take the life of a slave without consequence. In Israel, death equals punishment, which was a big difference. And there were still punishments for people who were beating their slaves. Now, if you beat the slave because they were trying to do something wrong, like they were trying to beat on you or they were trying to steal from you or whatever, then that was the prescribed punishment back then. There was nothing saying that you couldn't do it. But at the end of the day, God was saying, you're not just going to be beating on people just because you want to. That is not how this works. So the bottom line is that God did not command slave beating. He regulated an existing evil to protect the vulnerable in a fallen world. That's like saying traffic laws promote speeding just because they include penalties for reckless driving. Slavery in Israel was not American chattel slavery. Many were debt servants, which meant that they were voluntary with legal protections. They had rest days and even Jubilee release. And you can find that in Leviticus 25:10. So if you want a real moral monster, we can look at the Islam Qur'an and look at chapter 4, verse 24. And it says, and those whom your right hand possesses. Permitting sexual relations with slaves. No release, no punishment. And that's not case law, that's permission. So if you really want to have these conversations, we can go ahead and get into that. Why didn't say he didn't own slaves? Yeah, because I just explained that to you. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was wanting to know if I could share a couple of verses and something real quick.
Yep.
All right. And this, I think that this will nail it down. In Exodus 21:16, it says, whosoever steals. Now, a lot of atheists will say things like, well, it doesn't actually have a commandment or a law. Well, actually, thou shalt not steal works. Whoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death.
Mm-hmm.
Galatians 3:28. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free, there is no male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Philemon 1:15-16. Paul urges Philemon to receive Osimus or Onesimus or something. The word's a little rough. A runaway slave, no longer as a bondservant, but more than a bondservant, as a beloved brother. So it's promoting, basically treating slaves as equals and actually making it to where he actually lives in the home and serves as everybody else normally does. Leviticus 25:30. I got two more for you. Leviticus 25:39-40. If your brother becomes poor beside you and sells himself, listen to that, sells himself to you, you shall not make him serve as a slave. He shall be with you as a hired worker, basically like in servitude. 1 Timothy 1:10. Enslavers among the lawless and sinful, condemning those who enslave others. Oh, there is one last one for you. Luke 4:18. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me to set at liberty those who are oppressed.
Amen. And Doopy, there's no coping here. That's exactly why you're too much of a coward to call it to the show. You know how to do it. You say that he doesn't exist, but you're here on a Christian stream trying to make comments as if you're affecting anyone's opinion on God. And then you're saying, so there's no male or female. If you actually listen to the verse, what God was saying is that everyone is equal, whether you are male or female, Gentile or Jew, and no one was, and it doesn't say you didn't own slaves because, as I already have made it clear, because you obviously have too much earwax in your ears, probably from lack of taking a shower, is that there was no ownership, because in indentured servitude, that was voluntary. And if you actually had listening skills, you would have heard that it was voluntary. And then Brother Brett just read you countless verses that actually made it clear that stealing a man and trying to treat him as property was punishable by death. So at the end of the day, no matter what, nobody's going to acknowledge you. Nobody in the comment section acknowledge him because he doesn't have the balls to type in crossunit.live/call and try to make the case for himself. Again, Doopy, I don't care what you think. I don't care if first of all, I don't listen to verses. I read verses, and then I look at the cultural. I look at the historical context behind it. I look at the culture at the time, and at the end of the day, if you want to have the conversation, you can come in. Your spineless tactic of trying to copy and paste into my comment section will not be acknowledged. Yeah, for real.
One thing you want to do, and you've definitely got some great tactics at this, but I usually, if I'm dealing, because I've had to deal with this topic several times with atheists, usually it's atheists, Muslims, they don't even want to try on that, but this guy does apparently. What I do is I say, what is the second book of Exodus mostly about? I ask them, what do you get from it whenever you read it, like a book report? And they say, well, it's about Moses. And I said, and what does Moses do? What is the story, most of it about, from your standing point? Well, I don't know. Why don't you tell me? Is the rude attitude. And I say, it's about Moses freeing slaves. And what happens to the slave master in the process? His consequences were death.
Yep. And that's the thing. Moses freed millions of people who were actually enslaved by the Egyptians, but they will conveniently gloss over that. They will conveniently gloss over the fact that people who were actually indentured servants in the Bible were voluntary, right? And then the ones who weren't were there only simply because they were captured and they were held, such as the Amalekites or the Canaanites, because they had been warned for centuries, and that was a judgment from God. So it's not like God was encouraging chattel slavery as it was in the early American South, like so many people try to allude to. Brother Ezekiel 23:20, what is going on?
It's my favorite verse, Ezekiel 23:20.
Excellent.
It talks about donkey dicks and horse cow. But on to the topic of slavery, which I think it's ironic that you are so full of Christian apologetics to cope with God literally saying you can own slaves in the same breath that he gave Moses the 10 Commandments in Exodus 20. You turn the page, the next slave. You can sell your daughter as a slave. she doesn't go free like the male slaves do. She's a slave for life, unless he gets bored with her or he doesn't take care of her. Then she can leave. Oh, also, if you have a slave, you can beat them with a rod, and there's to be no punishment if they can get up after.
Can you understand this guy?
I can understand. I can understand. I can understand.
So
go ahead, keep talking, Ezekiel. Hold on, he wasn't finished. Keep talking, Ezekiel.
So I would love to understand how you can think that the Ten Commandments are anything of value when the page after, when God is continuing the laws to Moses, he says you can own slaves and beat them with a rod.
Are you done?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's the voice of God.
I'm sorry?
Why wouldn't you say it's the voice of God?
Okay, we're going. You said what you had to say, right?
Sure.
Okay. So here's the thing, because I already went over this and it seems like you have a hard time listening. So I'm going to say it very slow so that even a non-believer can understand it. All right. Now we're going to talk about the proof that slavery in the Bible was not like the transatlantic slave trade. All right. Now we have archaeological legal parallels in the ancient Near Eastern law. Codes like the Code of Hammurabi show harsher slave laws than the Torah. Yet the Mosaic law limits, regulates, and protects slaves, especially compared to surrounding cultures, and you can see the law code of Eshnua in 1930 BC. Now, there's a scholarly note from Dr. Paul Copan, who has a PhD from Marquette, and Is God a Moral Monster, documents how biblical slavery is more like indentured servitude or bonded labor and not chattel slavery, which, again, I said, which you clearly weren't listening to. Right. So let's get more into depth of that, because you seem to be more appealing to the emotion, and that I don't give a damn about that. Right. Because you call it slavery, but we're going to stop pretending for a second like we're talking about 18th century race-based plantation slavery. That's not what's happening in Exodus. What you're reacting to is in the English translation and not the actual cultural or legal meaning behind the Hebrew word abed, which often means servant or worker or bondsman and not property. Now, yes, Exodus 21 follows right after the Ten Commandments, but what's actually happening, which you clearly don't know, right? It seems like you're good at talking, but not actually understanding. Because what's happening is that God is setting up a civil legal system for a brand new nation of ex-slaves. And what is the very first regulation after the commandments? How to treat servants. Because Israel just came out of Egyptian slavery. That wasn't God saying, here's how to own people. It's God saying, you don't treat people the way that Egypt treated you. Now, if you reference Exodus 21:2, if you buy a Hebrew servant, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th, he shall go free for nothing. That is not slavery for life. That's debt-based labor. What we today would call a contracted worker. You serve your term and you get released. Now, the female servant laws you're referencing in Exodus 21, which was 7 through 11, I believe. That's not about selling daughters into slavery. It was a bride price. She's being married into a family. If the man refuses to marry her or provide for her, she was let go without debt, which of course I'm sure you either didn't know or conveniently glossed over. If he takes another wife, her food, clothing, and material rights he must not diminish. If he does not do these 3 things for her, she shall go for nothing. Exodus chapter 21, 10 and 11. That is not oppression. That's protection. And where did it come from? God. So then we're going to talk about your next point. You can beat a slave with a rod. Well, let's finish the verse, because again, you're dishonest and you're disingenuous, just like everyone who tries to come in here with this crap. Exodus 21, 20 and 21 says, if the servant dies on the spot, the owner is to be punished, likely to put to death, based on the Hebrew word nakam, N-A-Q-A-M, which means vengeance. But if the servant survives in a day or two, it is assumed not to have been intentional murder. It's a legal distinction between murder and injury, just like modern legal systems do. But you conveniently left out Exodus 21, 26 and 27, which says, if the master even knocks out a tooth of the servant goes free immediately. That's unheard of in the ancient world. In pagan culture, slaves were disposable, and in God's law, they were image bearers with rights. So stop acting like the Bible says God loves owning people. That's not in the text, and it's not in the Hebrew. What you're seeing is regulation of an already existing system in a fallen world, which was limiting it, correcting abuses, and giving servants dignity and release. If you're going to critique scripture, do it honestly. Don't cherry pick verses like you're reading Twitter threads, okay? Context always matters, culture matters, and Hebrew words do not always mean what your modern English assumptions want them to mean.
I would also like to say something real quick. I'm curious why it is that atheists never do videos about modern day slavery that exists over in Somalia as well as Africa.
Because they don't care.
And other places. Is slavery so important? Why is it only the attack done on Bible slavery and nothing else?
That's not actually slavery. Yeah.
Second of all, why is it that atheists never make videos or talk about or write about atheists in history who kept slaves? Why not?
I guess the distinction there is that I'm not thinking that God has ordained the slavery in Somalia, and I'm not thinking that God is this perfectly moral being.
So you think that he ordains the slavery in ancient times when I just clearly showed you that he wasn't ordaining it. He was actually teaching people do not treat people like that. But you don't think he ordained it today.
I think what you clearly showed is that what you were saying is that God put in a system regulating slavery, but regulation is not abolition. Do you think that having any form of slavery is morally good?
Okay, so I'm going to go back to what you, again, apparently decided not to listen to, or just you refuse to listen to. The system of slavery, which was indentured servitude, which the majority of people put themselves into because they owed a debt, was something that people did to pay off a debt. It was voluntary. It wasn't them going around capturing each other. Now, if you're referring to the Canaanites or the Amalekites, the people who God judged and they were supposed to be kept, they still were treated just as good, but they were kept for lifelong. They were kept as lifelong servants because they had done horrible things such as murdering babies on a regular basis, murdering the elderly, bestiality, and God knows how many other things that they were doing in those pagan cultures. Now, that didn't even account for 5% of the people that were actually servants in the ancient Hebrew culture. So again, you continue to, oh, well, God did this and God did that. But we're clearly explaining to you that he was regulating what was in the culture because it was something called indentured servitude, where somebody said, man, I owe this guy money. I owe him something that I cannot repay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to become his servant for a contracted amount of time. And once that contract is done, I no longer owe him a debt. And I'm doing this out of my own free will. But what ended up happening was God saw that because they had come out of slavery in Egypt, that they were going to think that the way that the Egyptians treated them was the way that they should treat each other. And he said, absolutely not. I'm fine with you guys going ahead and volunteering yourselves because, of course, I want you paying your debts to one another so that there is no contradiction in between you. But you will not treat each other the way that the Egyptians treated you. I have said this time and time again, and you continue to sit and pretend like I'm not saying it, like I'm not addressing it. You left out all the context, you left out all the history, you left out all the culture, and you thought you were going to come in here and quote a couple of verses and thought you did something.
That's weird because
I
just shared Exodus 21:16 where it says, whosoever steals a man and sells him, and anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death.
Yep.
I mean,
how does that verse make sense when 5 verses later it says you can beat your slave? Like, I feel like there's a disconnect there. Saying,
you feel like you feel like there's a disconnect because you clearly, again, dude, it's like I went over that verse ad nauseum, and we explained that when you beat them, you know what ends up happening? He was talking about if you decide to punish them for a transgression, because yes, people did commit transgressions, you were allowed to punish them, because if they decided that they were going to try to steal from you, or they decided that they were going to try to steal from your, rape your wife, whatever it was that people did, you can punish them. But it made it clear that if you injure them to the point where you injure them badly, they were going to go free. If you killed them, you were going to lose your life. So again, you continue with this beating your rod,
back with a rod. And they're able to get up with no permanent injury after 2 days. There's no punishment.
May I hit this Maverick?
Yeah, please, because he continues to repeat the same question that I answered 4 times.
Okay, there's two types of forms of slavery here. There's where people sell themselves into a contract where they work off their debts. Then there's the other one, if you're in a war and you're fighting against people and you keep some of them alive. But even in this sense, it is said, God says that they must be assimilated into the environment. And if they do well and they don't pose a threat to the culture, they're released.
Right.
So yeah,
which I said,
if you're dealing with a hostile captive enemy that you've taken in, and they are aggressive and trying to fight you or hurt your kids when they're asleep, then what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm.
Am I muted? Yeah.
No, you're not muted. Where everybody's listening to you.
Sorry about that. I take issue with that you're saying that I'm missing what you're saying, when I think it's dishonest that you're saying, oh no, these are indentured servants, like it's completely different, and then going, oh yeah, they did have another form of slavery that was slavery for life.
Yes.
But those were bad people. So I take issue with...
Listen, hold on, Zico. I'm going to stop you right there. And the reason I'm stopping you right there is because I'm going to make this abundantly clear to you. I don't give a damn what you take issue with, because the reason that those people were in the situation that they were in is because they would do things like, I'm going to give you this one example, and I swear to God, if you make an excuse for this, I'm going to boot you, because this is exactly why we laugh about people the way that we do. You're talking about cultures that used to take newborn babies and put them in the hands of gigantic cast iron statues, light them up and heat them up to hundreds, even thousands of degrees, a live baby, and play drums louder and louder so that you could not hear the screams of this child. Now, they were doing this for over 4 centuries and were warned by multiple people, multiple prophets sent by God, please stop doing this. Please stop raping your women. Please stop killing your babies, until the point where God said, you know what? These people obviously cannot exist as a culture. I'm going to have their culture destroyed, and we're going to have them living with people, and we're going to have them captured by people who live with a nation that knows what a Yahweh-fearing nation looks like, because then at the very least, they don't have to worry about being killed by one another or killing other people. And you're telling me that you take issue with them being captured. Brother, I don't give a damn what you take issue with, because God's judgment doesn't need your approval. Your little subjective opinion about what God did to other nations means absolutely nothing, because I guarantee you'll sit there and you'll laugh, but you'll sit there and gloss over the fact that they were doing that to little babies, right?
I think if that happened, that's horrible. But
it is horrible.
I don't think that the history
I don't know why
that
you're
giving is accurate.
Yeah, I don't care what you think the history supports. This is history. This is historically verified.
Tangents that don't matter. I was saying I take issue with the fact that you're saying I'm missing things.
You are missing things because you don't know what you're talking about.
There's indentured servitude and there's slavery.
To be fair, Maverick, I don't think he's missing things. I think he's intentionally.
He's intentionally, because he sits there and tells me that he takes issue with it, and it's horrible. Did you hear what he said? I think that, you know, if those things, I think that if those things were happening, but he's telling me that I'm going off on a tangent. So explaining why those people suffered those punishments is going off on a tangent.
Because you missed what I was saying. I was saying I take issue.
Maverick, let me show you something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me show you
go ahead.
something. I'm going to show you something right now to show you that this guy's not honest. Can you mention 2 verses that Maverick or myself has brought up? Just 2 verses.
You brought up Leviticus 25:44.
I did not bring up Leviticus. I'm sorry, it was Exodus. Next, try one more time.
You brought up Exodus 21:16. You brought up, and I'm pretty sure you brought up Leviticus 44. Because that comes before.
No, not 44.
But I know for sure it was Exodus 21:16. I gave you Exodus 21:16, and then also Exodus, I believe 21:7. You mentioned.
He's not listening. He's probably got I don't like the Bible.com open right now.
I don't have anything open except for this chat, guys.
Okay, so here I'm gonna. Since it's such a tangent to you, let me give you something, and not to say nothing of the fact that there is plenty of Bible verses that are alluding to exactly what I'm talking about. Let's talk about archaeological evidence, all right? In Carthage, in Phoenician colony, Carthage, founded by the Phoenicians, which are close cousins of the Canaanites, provides the strongest archaeological confirmation of the practice, which I told you about, right? So let's talk about the Tophets, which are sacrificial cemeteries. Tophets are open-air sanctuaries where thousands of urns filled charred bones of infants and animals have been found, notably at Carthage, Herdentinum, and Matia. Okay, these sites date from the 8th century BC to the 2nd century BC, showing long-standing ritualistic burning of children. Now, you have scientific confirmation, which was a 2014 peer-reviewed study by Dr. Josephine Quinn of Oxford University, concluded the archaeological, literary, and epigraphic evidence supports the view that child sacrifice was a real and frequent practice among Phoenicians and Carthaginians and the Canaanites. Dr. Josephine Quinn, who wrote Tombs of the Prophet Antiquity Journal in 2014, and I do have the link that I'm going to put for the chat. I'm going to put in the chat for you guys. We also have Greco-Roman accounts, which are extra-biblical sources. Several classical authors wrote about this practice amongst the Phoenicians and the Canaanites. Plutarch wrote about it in the 1st and 2nd century. He said, and quote, with full knowledge and understanding, the Carthaginians offered up their children, and those who had no children would buy little ones from poor people and cut their throats. Diodorus Siculus from the 1st century BC stated, quote, there was in their city a bronze image of Cronus extending its hands palm up. The child was placed in the hands and rolled into the fire, end quote. How do you say this? Cleitarchus, which was quoted by Porphyry, cited, end quote, out of the reference for Kronos, Molech, the Phoenicians and Canaanites, and especially the Carthaginians, used to sacrifice their own children, end quote. These Greco-Roman sources confirm what was described in the Old Testament from outside of the biblical worldview. So, Brother Ezekiel, I can go on, and I have a lot more, but rest assured, this is why I said what I said, this is what I originally alluded to, that I don't care if you think it's a tangent, and I don't care what you think about, and I don't care what you take issue with. What I care about is what reality is, what actually happened, what is confirmed by history, and if you don't want to use the Bible, don't use the Bible, fine. But you have people who have a worldview closer to yours than to mine who are stating that these things happened. And because they happened, this is how God decided that they had punishment. Now, you can take issue with that, but at the end of the day, guess how much people care about what you take issue with?
Again, I was saying I take issue with you classifying me as not listening or not paying attention when you are saying that, oh, it's indentured servant, it's indentured servitude. When I was trying to say the Bible does make a distinction between indentured servitude and full-blown slavery. And I felt like you were just thinking that I was saying, no, they're all slaves, like modern day slavery. I'm aware that the Bible makes that distinction.
Okay.
And so,
but the Bible does not make it okay to treat the captives any worse than they ever treated the indentured servants, which is what you're alluding to.
It tells you that you can own people for life, correct?
It tells you that they are captives. Yes, you have to. And do you understand why? Because if you were to allow them to continue on as they were, they would have continued on in their pagan practices where they would have continued to take the lives of innocent children. This is why you had to hold.
But when I read Leviticus 25, I believe it's around 44 through 46, or even when I read all of Leviticus 25 recently, it made no mention of captors or war or slavery like that. It only said that you have to keep Israelites as indentured servants. They go free after 7 years. If you want slaves, they're to come from the nations around you. They are to be your property. You can give them to your children when you pass on. So that's the stuff I can't understand. You can say that even if these were all like 99% moral monsters killing their babies and stuff, I don't think that you can generally have a command from God saying the foreigners around you can be owned as slaves.
Yeah, you can. You know why? Because if there is a God, right? You probably don't believe in God. But if there is a God, right? You don't believe in God. You used to. Good. Congratulations. If you believe that God is the one who takes the life, right? If you're saying that God commands a slavery, if he takes the life, who gave the life?
In your worldview, it would be God.
I'm sorry?
So in your worldview, it would be God. If you,
right. So here's the thing.
Life,
you don't get to judge God for what you think is bad while simultaneously pretending that everything that has ever happened in someone's life is good did not come from the same God. That's all you're doing.
That's fine. If you believe in the Judeo-Christian God, that's what you can believe. You can think God can give and God can take away because he gave you everything. Sure.
Correct.
But I take issue. Do you think God is morally perfect?
God is morally perfect.
I don't see how it's morally perfect to permit the owning of people as property.
Because again, if he casts a judgment and all you're doing is asking the same question in different wording, he is having those people. Now, mind you, if he would have had those people obliterated, you'd still have a problem with that. He allows them to live with families that are treating them like family, and you still have a problem with that. He cannot release them because all they're going to do is revert back to their original paganistic ways where they are now sacrificing other people and small children. They're going to do that if they're left to their own devices. You know how we know that? Because for over 4 centuries, they proved that no matter who God sent to them, they were going to ignore it because it was more important to them to continue on in their ritualistic practices than to go ahead and say, you know what? Maybe we should listen to this prophet. Maybe we should listen to God. Maybe we should stop burning babies alive. Maybe we should stop doing that. Maybe that's not a good idea. So I understand where you're coming from. You can continue to say that if you want, but you have to remember that God's morality is perfect, right? You try to judge God's actions by what you're taking from God, even though you don't want to acknowledge that that's what you're doing. You're taking the objective morality that is from God and then trying to judge God with that. And then you honestly think that your worldview on him passing a judgment on a nation who was killing his innocent children every single day and laughing about it and celebrating it like if it was an orgy party and saying, I take issue with that. So he didn't snuff them out. He allowed them to live. And he allowed them to live separately so that they wouldn't get together and continue those pagan practices where they were taking the lives of children. Now, mind you, I've noticed that you haven't had the intestinal fortitude once to acknowledge any one of those babies that was burned alive. All you continue to do is okay. So then what would you do? You think you can judge God, right? You think that it was bad. You think now if he would have continued to allow the Canaanites and the nations around them to do that, you would have taken it. And this is rhetorical because I already know the answer. If he would have not interfered, you would have taken issue with that and said, look, at God is so bad. Look, he didn't even stop them from doing that. When he did stop them from doing it, oh my God, look, he made them stay with people and they had to be captive. And look, that is just so immoral. Oh my God. It doesn't matter if they were killing babies. Like, oh my God. Right.
Let me ask a question.
So
I just got back.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do the people in the Bible as well as humanity in general have objective value and worth, Mr. Ezekiel?
All right. And what did you even say there? Sorry.
Do the humans in the Bible as well as humans in modern day do we have objective value and worth?
Objective. Like, are we worth anything? I don't quite understand.
Do we have objective value and worth?
I mean, we can do things that make goodness in the world. I'd say that has value, but that's not really.
According to your opinion, some people think that it's good to get rid of a bunch of people. So, what do we have objective value and worth?
I still don't know. According to me, what was that?
You don't know what it means.
Oh my Lord!
If someone says, "What value do you have?"
There's no way you're not understanding the question. Do you have value as a human being? Do you have value?
Yeah, you can make good things. You can make other people's lives better.
That's not what he asked you. He said, do you have value? I don't want the Matt Dillahunty answer. I want the actual question answered. Do human beings in and of themselves... No, do you have value? Do you have value? Not monetary value. Do you have value? Are you valuable as a human being?
I'm a sentient, complex creature that has innate value. Sure.
My next question would be also, do you endorse abortion?
I don't think that cluster of cells are sentient, so sure.
So you think that if a mother creates a fetus, she has the right because it's her baby, but God, who is the creator of the universe, doesn't have the right to be able to decide who lives or exists. Well, that's strange, but you endorse abortion, millions of billions of abortions.
I think there's a difference between a God saying you can own people and you can go slaughter these other tribes and stuff, and a woman making the choice to terminate a clump of cells.
Why does that matter to you for what is said in the Bible? If you don't believe in God, why does it even matter? I'm not going to somebody's room and arguing over if Lord of the Rings is true or if some kind of fantasy.
I'm sorry, is this not a call-in and debate thing?
It is.
So you care about it for the debate, but not really for anything else?
I mean, I just saw some right-wing shitheads talking about how slavery is morally perfect.
He just called us shitheads. Isn't that beautiful?
I guess it's better than a bunch of left-wing shitheads that are okay with 1 million babies a year being killed in this country. But you know what's funny is that when you say
slavery is morally perfect, it can be morally perfect.
Who said that slavery was morally perfect?
God is morally perfect.
God is morally perfect.
God set out the morally perfect thing to do with these groups of people, and that was slavery.
God said that the morally perfect thing to do was to cast judgment upon people who, and I think I've just figured out why you have a problem with it. Because you're okay with babies dying. So you don't like that people got punished because I think you're looking in the mirror darkly and understanding that you're gonna pay for that one day, right? And that's okay. You can laugh. You can have your little left wing soy boy eating laugh. But at the end of the day, let's break down what you said. Yeah. At the end of the day, let's talk about it. Yeah. You said it's a clump of cells that's not sentient. Well, first of all, my brother, that's not science. That's basically a PR spin because every single human being is a clump of cells by that same logic. You're a clump of cells. Just like I am, just like anyone in the womb. So you say a clump of cells, but yeah, everybody's a clump of cells. It doesn't matter the amount of cells. Everybody's a clump of cells, right? The difference is what kind of clump are we? And from the moment of conception, the unborn child has its own DNA. It has its own blood type. It has its own trajectory of development. It's a distinct human life, right? It's not a random tissue sample. And yet you will continue and sit there and act like I care about the mother's life. Straight out of the Antifa clown handbook, right? You probably can't get a woman, so you think that talking like that is going to get you a woman, and I think that that's probably what it comes down to. But let's talk about the idea of valuing a mother's life. What you're really saying is that if a stronger person's convenience, career, or comfort conflicts with a weaker person's existence, then you take the life of the weak one, right? That's not compassion. That doesn't make you right, and you've seen where that logic leads in the past, right? Because you've had eugenics, you've had the slavery that you're alluding to, and you've had genocide. Now you continue to try to make this point that I said that slavery is morally right. No, I said that God's morals are perfect and his judgment is right. So he decided to take a nation that was doing despicable things. And I'm sure that a lot of your ideology lines up with those despicable things, and that's why you have a problem with it. But again, I have no qualms with telling you that I don't give a damn what you think. And I know for sure that God definitely doesn't give a damn what you think about his judgments, because no matter what, you're going to have a problem with what God does no matter what. You're going to have a problem with it. If he wouldn't have interfered, you'd have had a problem with that. Because he did interfere, you still had a problem with it. To say nothing of the countless babies that he did save by that interference, you're saying that he can own slaves. You continue to, like a coward, to gloss over the fact that those people were treated like family members. They were integrated into Israelite society. But again, like a coward, like so many people who try to make these points, you continue to act as though you are morally standing above God, right? And back to the point about abortion. If a mother's life was actually at risk, right? And I mean medically provable, which is less than 1% of 1% of the time, unlike the garbage that your side tries to spew all the time, and it's not just emotional stress or financial hardship, then doctors can actually take steps to save both lives where possible. Taking the life of one to protect the other should be the last resort and not the default excuse. But this shouldn't surprise me coming from the left, because that's all you all have is excuses. So let's be absolutely honest here. Over 99% of abortions are done for convenience. And that's from Planned Parenthood themselves. That's not an opinion. All right. That's not because the woman's life is in danger. So the argument is a complete smokescreen, like on pretty much everything that you believe in. It may sound noble to you, but it's used to justify the ending the life of someone who can't speak up for themselves. And here's the bottom line. Moral value doesn't depend on size, location, or developmental stage. A baby in the womb is just as human as you were at 1 month old or at 80 years old. If being smarter, taller, and more independent disqualifies you from life, then infants, the disabled, and the elderly are all on thin ice.
And that's the reason why atheists have been known historically to wipe out so many people, because they see them no more as chemistry.
But he's more worried about God. He's more worried about God judging the Canaanites. He says God's not morally perfect for passing a judgment on people who are taking the lives of babies endlessly. But of course it makes sense. It's okay when clowns like this play God, right, and take life indiscriminately, but it's not okay when God passes judgments on his own creation. Make it make sense.
You're dishonest, because the first thing I said was a non-sentient clump.
It doesn't matter if it's sentient. You can think it's sentient or not. You think that you're arbitrary. You think it's, and I don't give a damn what matters to you. The fact of the matter is, you do not get to put value on life at a certain extent just because you say at one point that it's sentient or non-sentient. Regardless of whether it's sentient or not, even science, which you worship, makes it clear that at the moment of conception, it's a new life. It is a new life right then and there at the moment of conception. It has DNA, it has its own blood type, everything that it has will never be replaced again. When that child is taken out and scraped out of the womb, it will never be duplicated again. So you're trying to use this arbitrary prerequisite of sentience as if anybody gives a damn what your prerequisites are, and we're telling you that even your own science books make it clear that that's a life regardless of the stage of development.
And bacteria is a life too. It doesn't matter.
And what?
Have you ever spoken out against NAMBLA that is founded by atheists?
The North American Man-Boy Love Association.
That's right. Founded
I
by
only know that
atheists.
because of South Park. Well, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the only reason why you know it.
Did you hear that he does not care? So this isn't about children.
I don't care what individual
This
atheists
is about
do.
your
There are
hate
lots of
for
moral
God. You're
monsters who
angry
believe
at
in
God because something happened.
I don't think God
and you
exists.
get all psychological.
Then why are you?
on it.
If you don't think that God exists, then why are you in here?
Because it's debate. I believe the.
But you're debating something you don't believe in.
signed on to.
You're debating something you don't believe in.
It's an internal critique looking at. I'm saying I don't think God exists because he says you can do all these horrible things like own people as slaves and beat them with a rod, and that
Right.
these people,
And
they fought you out of
every
Egypt,
argument
so
and every
slaughter
argument
them
that you were given that literally pulls your lies apart, you conveniently ignored, which is exactly
all. No,
why.
you said that it pulls my lies apart and said that I've ignored it while falling on your sword and saying
You
that
see,
there was
though,
both
you see this,
indentured servants and slavery.
Ezekiel said he didn't even care about the fact that atheists are hurting little
Right? No,
children
he doesn't care.
and all that.
He not, and not only does he not only does he not care, he's sitting here trying to say that we didn't pull his lies apart while conveniently acting like he didn't just repeat the same. But you can still beat him with a rod. After I made it clear in the cultural context, what the actual punishments were and what the regulations were that were given by God, and the fact that it was indentured servitude, and then we pivoted, which a lot of Christians wouldn't even do, and I made it clear why God wanted pagan nations being held captive so that they wouldn't hurt other people. But Ezekiel won't address that. He won't address the fact that all those people that would have been let go would just go on hurting other people and hurting innocent babies. He won't address that. Because this is what the cowardly do.
Because I don't think that's what the verse is saying. The verse is looking at the laws for these people coming out of Egypt, and it says you can.
It's making it clear that the Canaanites were judged, and the entire culture was pulled apart, and they were held as lifelong servants, because if they were to be left to their own devices, they would have continued to do it. You know why? Because the Bible makes it clear that when prophets were sent to those nations to warn them to stop doing what they were doing, guess what? They continued to do it. So in your mind, what do you think would have happened if he would not have judged those nations? Do you think that they would have just stopped magically, or do you think that they would have continued to go ahead and burn babies alive? But you don't care because you think abortion is okay. You think abortion is okay, so what would you care?
I think abortion's okay because personally, it's
Abortion is funny
non-sentient
for him. He's
lump of
up there laughing. Sick puppy.
You guys are so dishonest. You're saying, "Oh yeah, I support NAMBLA," and hey, you're just reaching for straws. I said
We're talking
that
about
he asked you a
baby
question,
murder, and you're laughing.
You're laughing. You're literally laughing like a 12-year-old girl when we bring. I have given you no less than 3 rebuttals full of source material, scholarly material, historical data, archaeological data. You have provided nothing but they said you could beat them with the rod.
You provided data saying that Canaanites and Phoenicians were slaughtering babies.
Yes. Which you said, I doubt that that's even was happening. And then I made it clear to you.
I appreciate the info.
Yeah, well, good for you. But at the end of the day, I've proved to you that it was happening, and I proved to you that God judged them as a result. And you still think...
Was every non-Israelite slaughtering babies?
What?
Was every non-Israelite slaughtering babies and sacrificing babies? Because that's the only distinction that the verse...
The nations that were judged were the ones that were participating in those detestable practices, which is why they're named by name.
Because the verse doesn't say Canaanites can be your slaves. It doesn't say Phoenicians can be your slaves. It says anybody who's not an Israelite can be your slave for life.
It says from the pagan nations around you, because those were the pagan nations that were participating in those practices. There's no way you're this dumb. There is no way you're this dumb.
Around them, literally all of the nations around them, it's fine because they're pagans.
How many nations do you think were around them?
Well, there were quite a few.
No.
I know the Egyptians, Phoenicians, the
around
Canaanites.
them where they were at the time. Don't guess, my brother. If you're going to answer my questions in this debate, have some evidence to back it up, or don't answer the question. Just say I don't know.
Well, I'd say that it doesn't matter because Moses.
Now it doesn't. So then why did you ask the question? Why did you ask the question if you're saying it doesn't matter? Okay, that's the dumbest thing. You do not get to just come in here and say internal critique every time you're backed into a corner. You have not answered a single question. I asked you a question, you can't answer it, and you said, "Well, it doesn't matter."
What's the question? Sure. Again,
How many pagan
around
nations
them?
were around them? Which nations
I
were
don't
around
know.
them at the time that the commandment came out? Come on, it's not hard, Mr. Ezekiel. It's not hard. You came in here as an internal critique. You used to be a believer. You're not a believer. You say babies' lives don't matter. What do you have any actual knowledge, or do you just speak in everything in sound bites?
You're asking me how many nations around them.
Right.
The
Which
verse
nations
just
were around
says
them?
Anybody who's not Israelite. And you're asking me.
It says the
well, how many
pagan. No.
nations around them?
No. This is exactly why you guys get slammed in every debate. The Bible never says every nation that's not Israelite. That is the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. It says from the pagan nations around you. It doesn't say in the Bible you can take. No. It never once said you can take slaves from any nation that is not Israelite. It said take the lifelong servants from the pagan nations surrounding you. It doesn't say that.
46?
Yeah,
Sure,
it-
read it then.
Yeah, from the pagan nations surrounding you. Both thy bondmen and thy bondsmen, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen
This is
that
King
are
James.
round about you. It doesn't say that are not heathen, that are not Israelite. You fool, you lying fool. It says that are round about you. Do not quote from the Bible if you no. Okay, you literally took the last bit of credibility that you had and you ruined it because you don't even know what it says. You're arguing with two Christians who've actually read the Bible. I didn't even look at it and I knew it didn't say that. And I always knew that it said that you take them from the nations that surround you. It never once said Israelites can take any servant they want from any nation that's not Israel. Goodbye. Oh my. I swear, this guy couldn't have been more disingenuous if he wanted to. How do you possibly defend? How do you defend nations that were punished and judged? How do you defend what they were doing and then gloss over it and still have the audacity to say, how do you have the audacity to say that God is not morally right and that his justice is not righteous because it didn't matter what they did? Essentially what he said was it didn't matter what they did because they shouldn't have been slaves. Did you get anything else from that, Brett?
It was just all nonsense, especially while he was giggling about baby murder.
Right.
It kind of turned my stomach. I almost puked in my trash can near me.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and that's what they are. They're Leviticus 25, 44 through 46, English Standard Version. As for your male and female slaves whom you may have, you may buy male and female slaves from among the nations that are around you. From among the nations that are around you. Around you. Nowhere does it say that you can take anyone a slave who is not an Israelite. 45 says you may also buy from among the strangers who sojourn with you and their clans that are with you, who have been born in your land, and they may be your property. You may bequeath them to your sons after you to inherit as a possession forever. You may make slaves of them, but over your brothers, the people of Israel, you shall not rule one over another ruthlessly. And we've already talked about why these people were allowed to be lifelong servants. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. He says in the chat, Brett, he says that we walked into a corner. Apparently, he cornered us.
He did he?
That's what he says.
Let me check. Nope, I'm far from the corner, and I've got 4 of them.
Yep. What if there was a point
We are
0.0001
talking
chance
to
God
people
exists?
who don't know what the difference between a man or a woman is. So
Right.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
Everything's upside down.
he probably thinks he could be born as he probably think a woman could be a man and vice versa. You know what I mean?
He most likely thinks he evolved from a fish too.
Right. The thing about it is, Doopy, is that you came in here, you got smoked. You tried to misrepresent what I said. You tried to say that I said that slavery was morally perfect. Did I ever say that, Brother Brett? I guess.
Sorry, there's a little bit of lag in Ninja. No, you did not say that. In fact, we both gave passages. We also gave historical information.
Right.
We showed him all the things, but he wasn't paying attention. He didn't care. And he showed that he doesn't inherently see value in human beings at all.
No, he doesn't.
It's just about, I'm mad at God. I must attack him today.
And we're going to end with this, guys, because I got to get ready for work. At the end of the day, this guy joined the channel after he finally figured out how to do it. Doesn't know anything about the Bible. Takes issue with a God that he doesn't believe in, supposedly. Says that God has no right to cast judgment upon people by making them lifelong servants, but has no problem playing God himself by saying that innocent unborn children should lose their lives for nothing other than the reason that it's an inconvenience to the mom. What a clown. Look how long Pride Month has been going on. Yeah, amen. Guys, I got to go. I got to start getting ready, man. I got a long night of work ahead of me. And then, I will see you guys on Sunday, God willing. Guys, please be safe, be good, be blessed. I will see you guys when I see you. Remember, guys, this upcoming Sunday, I work. So that will be a shorter stream like this one, like maybe 2 hours or so. And then Monday and Tuesday. No, wait. I'm wrong. When am I off? What is today? Huh? I don't work this Sunday. Am I off the weekend? I'm off for Father. Oh, no. So I'm off. But I won't be streaming, guys, because it's Sunday. It's Father's Day. So the streams will be Monday and Tuesday. I probably won't be streaming, depending on what's going on. But more than likely not. But at the very least, Monday and Tuesday, I'll be on because I'll be off. Yeah, I'll be off Monday. So as always, guys, be safe, be good, be blessed. I will see you guys when I see you, Brother Brett. Thank you as always for helping me field the nonsense. Ask him about divorce of little girls in the Qur'an. Yeah, well, he wasn't even a Muslim. I didn't even get any Muslim brave enough to call in today. So at least the one atheist who doesn't know what he's talking about the Bible, who tried to talk about the Bible, still came in. But guys, be safe, be good, be blessed. I'll see you when I see you. Jesus is King and the only way to heaven. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.